to our YouTube channel, where wisdom meets inspiration. In this channel, we share valuable insights to help you become the best version of yourself. Our content is designed to uplift your spirit and enrich your life. Make sure to subscribe to our channel to stay connected with this incredible journey. Click the subscribe button below.
Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We will resume our study of selected verses from the Panchadashi. So today's verses which have been selected are very interesting. They are telling us about the methods of Vedanta. Shravan, Manan, Nididhyasan, the place of Samadhi, all this is there. See, Panchadashi has all of this. So much of yoga has got integrated into Vedanta. You can see it clearly. And then how Vikalpa is understood. How thoughts are understood. What is required for the attainment of the meditative state and the Samadhi state. All this will be discussed. So it will be very interesting. So to those who are really wanting to do sadhana, this is a very important part. This Prakarana Granthasna, this is the beauty. They focus on the essentials. And without going into too much argumentation, they are just focusing on the essentials of sadhana many times. So that's why the verses are very beautiful. You must remember, primarily before we begin using a method of Vedanta, a thorough overhauling of our inner life is required, which means establishing ourselves on high principles, devotion to God, devotion to saints and scriptures. This is required because, if you don't have that bulb, that devotion and that inclination, that turning of all your emotional energies towards something really elevating, it will not work. One of the signs of a very spiritual person is doesn't waste 1 minute. Constantly either you take the name of God or do something good, expose yourself to something good or some elevated thinking or seva or some form of service to God, but don't waste a single minute. A spiritual person has no time to waste. In fact, 24 hours are not enough for a sadhak. So quickly time passes. But if the mind is tamasic, time hangs on and everything is boring. Isn't it? So keep the mind in such a state that really every minute you are able to utilize. Another characteristic of a person who is really turning to deep spirituality is very, very empathetic. Empathy, kindness, compassion, it is his nature. His heart, his entire being melts with compassion all the time. Because, devotion makes one like that. Where there is devotion to God, that is why then the seva bhav, this mellow feeling of wanting to do for others will come naturally. If we are rigid and rock-like and only logical, we are in trouble, I'm telling you. So, integrate all these elements. I told you a total overhauling of your emotional life is required, without which you can't proceed far into this. Don't think this can be grasped by the intellect. A complete integration of our personality, all the different dimensions of our personality is required for spirituality to blossom forth. Another thing is, a spiritual person's vital energies are very radiant. That is what gives that power of conviction and ability to draw the best minds. You must maintain vitality like that. So if the inner vitality is maintained in that way, everything will work for you. Otherwise it will work against you. Do you know, we to a great extent create the circumstances of our life by what we want, what we are after. Yes, you can watch that video, Miracle of Positive Thinking. Very important for you to know that how your thought mechanism creates circumstances around you. What you repeatedly think, you will become. And you will frame various things around you accordingly. Everything is a product of your mind. So when you have your vital energies flowing in a particular direction, raised as it were, your mind will function in a very sattvic mode, very positive mode. So it will give so much of calmness and balance in life. This is a characteristic of a spiritual person. I told you one minute is not to be wasted. Do something good every minute and be alert as to where the mind goes, how it is behaving. Unless you draw your mental energy and raise your vitality, you cannot unfold awareness. Even if you get some kind of an intellectual idea, it won't become an insight and it won't lead to absorption. So let's not fool ourselves. It's a graded path. The adhikaris' preconditions have to be satisfied. One comes into sadhana only when one has seen life. One understands what it is about and it can be deepened and elevated to a great extent. So devotion to God and handling your vital energies properly, empathy, all this is part and parcel of spiritual life. That's why a spiritual person will radiate positivity. Yes, unspirituality is groaning and moaning and complaining. When there's no spirituality, there is only negativity. So take care, check your mind and see. These are the primary conditions to be satisfied for all this to grow. Now today he is going straight into, I have skipped many verses. I told you we are doing selected verses from the Panchadashi. But you see now this 53rd verse I am going. It's on page 25 in this book. Panchadashi of Sri Vidyaranya Swami by Swami Swahananda. Go to page 25 and look at the 53rd verse. Itham vakyais tad artha anusandhanam shravanam bhavet yuktya sambhavi tattva anusandhanam mananantu tat. The finding out or discovery of the true significance of the identity of the individual self and the Supreme with the aid of the great sayings like Tattvamasi is what is known as Shravan. And to arrive at the possibility of its validity through logical reasoning is what is called Manan. So you see, the finding out or discovery of the true significance of the identity of the Jivatman and Paramatman. How do you find it out? First, you listen correctly to Vedanta. See, if you listen with intensity, intense focused attention, the mind will actually generate the Vedanta vritti. It's such a gain, Shravan itself. Actually, you will grasp what the scripture is saying. That's why Shravan is the first step. And what are we to listen to? The identity of the Atman and Brahman. The truth of my own being is the cosmic consciousness of this universe. I am one with the universe. All the four Mahavakyas, they are talking of the same thing. The meaning is the same for all four Mahavakyas. What are the four Mahavakyas? The great sayings of the Upanishads. Tattvamasi, Aham Brahmasmi, Ayam Atma Brahma and Prajnanam Brahma. They come in four different Upanishads, but they all are saying the same thing. What they are saying is, understand that this Atman and Brahman are one and the same thing. You are that. You verily are that. So, Shravan of Vedanta constantly is very important. Don't discount on this. Why? If you don't keep doing these things, other things will occupy your mind. So Shravan keeps out distractions. Shravan keeps out all kinds of things, groaning, moaning of our mind. It keeps out all that. Keep something elevated with you all the time. So constantly, here in Uttarakhand they will say, not a single discussion on Vedanta will go waste. It will produce the Brahmakara vritti. A single discussion also will not go waste. Why? You are discussing the ultimate truth of existence. It will have its impact on your mind, and the stupidity of the mind will go automatically. So just keep these things in your head. People will call you impractical and utopian and hanotano, all that. Don't worry. Yes, those who do this, they become aloof, as it were. And people will call them utterly impractical. Don't worry. Become a little impractical. See, practicality means different things for different people. It's a relative term. Staying in Brahman is the most practical thing to do. That's the purpose of human life. So don't worry. Just keep to this. So that's the first step, Shravan. Constantly hearing this. My real nature, my real identity is one with that Supreme Brahman. There is no difference. The rest is all mind-made, not the reality of my existence. This you must keep hearing constantly. And if this has to work, keep a little away from all the things which, the media will keep pumping into your head. Yes? Constantly it is turning you towards objects. Keep a little distance from that. I'm not saying don't watch news, don't watch this. I'm not saying that. But when you are a sadhak, sadhana is important for you. The sadhya vastu is the priority. So keep your attention fixed on this. Shravan constantly. And manan is logically trying to again and again think about what you have heard. Coming to the logical understanding and conviction born out of Shravan is manan. So it removes obstacles created by the mind, When you come to an intellectual understanding and conviction, the perverse ways of the mind and intellect will dissolve. Yes. So it removes obstacles. It removes negativities. Manan, by yourself now you are doing it. In your mind. Mind is engaged in this. So these two disciplines on the Mahavakyas, on Vedantic texts are very, very important in the life of the sadhak. See, in this Uttarakhand, in all established monastic institutions, the sadhus will do Shastra Charcha at least for 3 hours per day. Same thing they are doing again and again. The Upanishads, the commentaries, the Brahma Sutras, again and again they are doing the same thing. Why? You must do the same thing. Don't think every day, natun korbo. No. Same things you must keep, because repetition creates the sanskar. Yesterday we saw, when you repeat vrittis, the sanskar is created. So repetition of the same thing again and again in the mind is important. In Vedanta, that is why manan is important and nididhyasan is very important. Even in your Bhakti Shastras, they will say japa is important, isn't it? Jap karte hi rehna chahiye. Why? You're repeating the same thing. You're repeating it because it should create this bhakti sanskar. Only when you repeat, it will get created. See, remember one thing in spiritual life, it is not important to know 1,000 things. It is important to train your attention. If you have trained your attention through all these methods to remain riveted on the goal, you can gain knowledge at any time. Swamiji used to say this, but you must train your attention. These are all methods to keep attention riveted on our purpose. So, whether it is japa, whether it is shravan, manan, nididhyasan, it is a matter of repetition. When you keep repeating, you will understand. In a few days' time, you will see how congenial the mental environment will become. The mind is now cooperating with you. This is the source of peace. You have laid the right foundation now by repetition. So don't get bored with japa or again and again, why should I hear the same thing? You must again and again only hear. And keep a little distance from contrary things. If you keep doing manan, that distance you will automatically will come. I have seen in many of these ashrams, even in Art of Living and Sadhguru's place and all, they actually put a placard like thing, silence. So that you can't talk with that person. He's completely silent during the period of his sadhana because he is doing this internally. All this. So some such technique is to be adopted. Just like that, you can't get into all these things. See, the very understanding of thought, what is called vikalpa in yoga, psychology, changes when you practice spiritual discipline. The very texture of your mind will change. Deep integrity will come into the soul because now your whole mind is working for your goal. Not one bit of your mind. Ordinarily, when you are saying yes, only 70% of you is saying yes. 20% is saying no. Another 10% is confused. It doesn't know what to say. Mind functions like this if you don't train it. But when you train it through sadhana, when you want to know something, if it is a yes, it's 100% yes. Mind has become very powerful. That mind will reflect the light of the self. Using that light, you go towards the self. If we don't train the mind at all, it will remain like a stone, stupid and tamasic and unable to reflect the inner light. How will you go inward? Without training of mind, mind alone will create obstacles for your spiritual path. Please know this. Don't think there are shortcuts. Try it out and see. Intellectual inquiry can help you glimpse something of this. But to stay there, the mind should be clean. Otherwise, it will not happen. So work on the mind. It's the graded path. If you bring in devotion, it becomes so sweet, the entire path. Bhakti anle, everything becomes sweet in your life. So there's not that much of a divide between jnana and bhakti, as we say. Because look at the jnani's life. Any jnani you take. Look at Swamiji. Thakur used to give Ashtavakra Gita only to Swamiji, isn't it? And he used to say he's of that type. He's the highest. He's an adept in meditation. He's fit for the knowledge of the absolute. And yet he would see Swamiji's face and say, can one who has a face like this be a dry jnani? Swamiji was so beautiful to look at, isn't it? It is only because his heart was full of bhakti. All jnanis have this characteristic. Somewhere deep bhakti has been developed. On that foundation, jnana has been established. Raman Maharshi used to say, bhakti is jnana mata, mother of jnana. If there is no bhakti, there will not be any jnana. Bhakti means one pointed investment of your energies, emotional energies towards the goal, towards God. So if bhakti is there, nothing is difficult. If bhakti is not there, things will be dry and austere and difficult. So bring in that factor you must not miss out. Anyway, Swaswarupa Anusandhanam Bhakti iti uchyate, Shankaracharya says, which means the one-pointed search for the knowledge of the self is bhakti, according to Shankaracharya. Your vital energies, emotional energies must move in one particular stream. That is the whole point. That is the meaning of bhakti and all this handling energies and all that. Our vitality should be in our hands. Something should not hijack our emotions. That's the whole point. Now, after this, you see, now he goes into the importance of Shravan and Manan. He has told us. Now he will go into Nididhyasana. Go to verse number 54. Tabhyam nirvichikitse arthe chetasa sthapitasya yat ekatanatvam etadvi nididhyasanam uchyate. And when by Shravan and Manan the mind develops a firm and unbounded conviction and dwells constantly on the thus ascertained self alone, it is called unbroken meditation or nididhyasana. Now you see, it dwells constantly on the nature of the self. Why? You have ascertained the meaning of the self through Shravan and Manan. You have a feel for pure consciousness, Brahman shining in your heart. Now the mind gets absorbed with that. So it is a nirantam dhyatum ichha nididhyasan, absorption in the object of meditation. Here the object is the subject, the self. So this absorption is important. You know, the more you are absorbed in the truth, the more you will kill other sanskars. Automatically, they will just get dissolved, burnt out in your mind. If absorption is not there, you are at the mercy of the sanskars in your mind. So nididhyasan will go like this. If you want it to go like this, then you must learn to stay absorbed in the knowledge you have received through Shravan and Manan, the nature of the self. That is why every morning assert that, the truth of your own being, through some Mahavakya, some passage like Aham Brahmasmi, Prajnanam Brahma. Feel the truth of your being, not the truth of your persona. So nididhyasan is very, very important. In fact, I told you that Bhamati school actually believes in the nididhyasan is the way to self-knowledge. If there is no meditation, you won't have any hold over what you have known. See, remember, this is the difference between vritti jnana, knowledge born of vrittis, and knowledge born of meditation. Thoughts have a certain amount of power, but revelation, this level of revelation born of nididhyasan, is all powerful. So, ability to remain absorbed in the truth you have now known, it comes only if you have the sanskars of the higher life. Otherwise, the mind will keep creating obstacles. See, nobody creates obstacles in our life other than the mind. We may be thinking, oh no, he creates, she creates, that one creates. The fact that you are responding to whatever others are doing shows you have created. Your mind alone is all sufficient. The mind can create a hell or heaven. Milton said this. In its own place, it can create a hell or a heaven. An untrained mind will give you a hell of an experience. A trained mind and pure sanskars, Shuddha Sattvic sanskars, will give you full support for an enterprise like this. You see, the mind of the Sattvic is naturally absorbed in higher things. Have you seen? I remember since my childhood, I would watch one person, and I would find her truly, genuinely, spontaneously absorbed in these things, and radiant in face, and really so blissful because of her absorption. My grandmother was like this. It had such an impact on the family. And then when I joined the order, the president under whom I joined was like this, Divyanandaprana Mataji of Bangalore. Absorbed in God. You could actually see it on her face. So always happy. Now this spontaneity of absorption is coming because they have worked on their sanskars. They actually radiate purity and absorption in God, divinity. So nididhyasan is the key factor. Now you see, next he's going to compare this with Samadhi, which is very interesting. You see here, in the commentary, in the Yoga Sutras, nididhyasan is called dhyan. It's there in the commentary. And has been described as pratyaya ekatanata dhyanam, unbroken knowledge of the object of meditation. So if the pratyaya, if your thought form is sort of stretched and in one string towards the object of meditation, like oil being poured from one cup into another, see, there's no break, no intermittency, it's a continuous flow. if your thought has become like that towards the object of meditation, that is called dhyan. Pratyaya ekatanata. Stretched out single thought. Not 4-5 tracks running. One thought. Stretched out towards the object of meditation. That state is called dhyan. Nididhyasan, he says, is similar to this. Only thing is Nididhyasan, the beauty of it is whether you have eyes closed or eyes open, because it is to do with your awareness, Nididhyasan will continue. But for yogic dhyan, you require to close eyes. Isn't it? That's the method given. Right? But in both cases, your mind has come to a very rarefied state of deep absorption. So now you see, he compares it with Samadhi. Samadhi, you must remember, is again yogic terminology. Isn't it? Nididhyasana is pure Advaita Vedanta terminology. Now you see the next verse. Dhyatra dhyane parityajya kramat dhyayaka gocharam nivata deepa vat chittam samadhir iti abhidiyate. The 55th verse says, when the mind gradually leaves off the ideas of the meditator and the act of meditation and is merged in the sole object of meditation with the self and is steady like the flame of a lamp in a breezeless place, it is called the superconscious state or Samadhi. See, this triad of I meditating on an object, dhyata doing dhyanam on a dheya vastu. This triad dissolves, vanishes. It's very beautifully described in Yoga Sutras. Samadhi is called Arthamatra Nirbhasa, which means only the object is shining forth. There is no concept of I meditating on an object. That is dissolved away. So it is, please see, it is a very rarefied state of existence, where the triad of knowing has vanished. And this Samadhi, its very nature is deep absorption. And is merged in the sole object of meditation and is steady. So you see, if mind is trained, it will remain steady in that state, like a flame in a windless place. Have you seen that? How beautiful it looks. It is absolutely still and bright. So mind becomes like that. The unmoving mind, absorbed in the self. And this is called the superconscious state. See, now you go beyond what is called the conscious mind. You have gone into the superconscious, the state of pure being, automatically. Whether you do it through Shravan, Manan, or you do it through Ashtanga Yoga, doesn't matter. The state you will attain is the same. Remember, Sankhya also is aiming at knowledge. Vedanta also is aiming at knowledge. They are twin philosophies interpreting the same Vedic thought. Only Sankhya sees dual reality. Isn't it? Reality is twofold, Purusha and Prakriti. Prakriti is given same status as Purusha. Both are real, parallel realities. But Vedanta does not accept parallel realities. Only one consciousness is there. So it's a development over Sankhya. But the methods they are giving are so similar, you see. Isn't it? So please understand this. The essential thing is to understand these philosophies through practice, not through intellectual understanding or acumen. Once you can just brush through and understand it intellectually, but the practice is most important. If I don't attain the state of Samadhi or real Nididhyasan, what's the point in knowing everything about it? So when you start practicing, you will understand Nididhyasan, Dhyan, there is not much difference. Terminologies are different, slight variations are there. But the state of raptness or absorption and spontaneously. Have you known the state of flow? Every one of us know, I'm sure. Because I don't think there's any well-developed mind which hasn't felt flow at something or the other. Even I've seen with youngsters, At least a movie will put them into flow. They will experience flow sometime or the other. So when in the state of flow, if you watch that state and see, music, reading, studies, higher intellectual activity, poetry, anything can put you into the state of flow. Meditation, though, absolutely, it is about flow. So that is a state which is spontaneous. Now time has dropped. So you sat maybe 3-4 hours doing that one task and time just flew by. You didn't know how it went. You were just wrapped and absorbed. And another thing about flow is when you come out of it, you understand what a state of absorption I was in. And in that state, you don't realize, and there's a explosion of happiness in your heart, which is realized and recognized when you come out of that state. So you feel so good. I remained absorbed. Have you felt this state? Higher intellectual activity will definitely, creative activity will put you into that state. See, these are the cream experiences of life which you must capture and see what is happening in that state. There's this book called Wrapped. If you're interested, you can see it. And Zik Mihaly has done a lot of research on this. And he is quoted from the Patanjali Yoga Sutras also. So this state is the spontaneous state of a developed mind. An undeveloped mind will keep jumping from object to object. Yes, but a really cultured, developed, refined mind will get absorbed in one thing. Now, this state of flow, if there is continuous flow for a long time, spontaneous, natural, then it is something like Samadhi. So in yoga psychology, they even give you time period, if your attention has got riveted for more than 144 seconds, you will go into the state of rapture. Rapt becomes rapture. Raptness becomes rapture. You will go into the state of Samadhi. But 144 seconds of riveted attention is not a joke. Think and see. 2 minutes 24 seconds of unwavering attention to one thing. Not a small thing. If it can be done by training, you will attain the object of meditation. Now, what happens in that state is, you know by being, you don't know by knowing. So there's no vritti jnana there. Yes? Samadhi is to be attained to know its fruits. You see the life of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, Sarada Devi and Swamiji. What periods of complete absorption they experienced. Thakur though day in and day out in Samadhi, isn't it? Most of his time actually he was in Samadhi. And the least suggestions of God consciousness, he would be wrapped in that state. Just imagine how it must have been to be around him. A being who is constantly going in and out of Samadhi. Shara Khan utate talleen, absorbed. And when he would come out of it, prakritistha holen bole lekha ache na. See, he came into Prakriti. He had gone into Purusha. He came into Prakriti. And he would radiate the light of that state. The clarity, the bliss, the awareness, he would radiate it. And everybody around it actually felt the touch of that. So you see, these are the experiences which show us that the purpose of human life is to reach the divine. There is no other purpose. A life lived in God consciousness. It's an object lesson for all of us, what the purpose of life is. And Thakurer avastha emon chilo ki when he entered the state of Samadhi, he would not give the slightest hint he is going into that state. It was so spontaneous and natural for him. Suddenly he gets absorbed, enters another dimension of existence, as it were, and after some time again comes back. So the villagers, who would not understand his state of Samadhi, they would actually say, he dies many times in a day and comes back to life. He would appear like that. because the state of Samadhi is such a rarefied absorption, even the body and the mental act all would become jada, as it were. People could not find this is really remarkable, they could not find his breathing, his heartbeat. Once a doctor came and examined, you remember Mahendralal Sarkar, he was so shocked. And he said, science has no explanation to this. See, if the entire mass of vitality, vital energy is raised, this will happen. Now you have unfolded full consciousness, so the material self becomes jada. But remember this, the same thing is nididhyasan, but nididhyasan is possible. Raman Maharshi used to call it Sahaj Samadhi, which means even with your eyes open, while doing things, moving about in the world, you can be in that state. But then what level of spirituality that must be, think and see. My suggestion would be to first attain Samadhi in solitude. Attain that state, feel something of the truth of that state and see, and then you can practice it anywhere. But the fact is, it can be practiced anywhere. In fact, Vivekananda's life is like that. He was perpetually in touch with the truth of his being. And still he worked so much for the world. So all these realized souls who have come to show us the way, they work like this. But we being what we are, we require practice. Please understand. And that is why from time to time going into solitude, doing these practices, feeling the truth of all this, and then you practice it wherever you are. That should be our aim, isn't it? Then please go to verse number 57 on the same page. Vritti nama anuvrittistu prayatnat prathamadapi. That one. Adrishta asad kridabhyasa sanskara sachivat bhavet. The mind continues to be fixed in Paramatman in the state of Samadhi as a result of the effort of will made prior to its achievement and helped by the merits of previous births and the strong impression created through constant effort at getting into Samadhi. So the effort you put to stay in that state builds up the momentum for you to make it possible. So one does not come out of states like this easily, because you have built the momentum towards that. No? You have created the sanskars and you see the merits of so many previous births. And then he will be telling us the fruit of this state. Why it is important. All sins, all Ashubha karma phal, everything is wiped out from the mind when one is able to maintain these states, he says. That is the power of Samadhi. One who has not attained it will not know it. Even the state of dhyan, real meditation, will show you what the effect of continuity in this will be. So don't take it lightly. The state of nididhyasan, samadhi, are very elevated states of existence, where really now Prakriti is separated from Purusha. The light of awareness has come to the forefront. And if you say, you see, many people ask this question, what is the use of this state to the world? What is the effect of this state? Why at all should a human being aim at a state like this? You know, this has the greatest effect on the world. Because when you bring yourself into this knowledge, you know, the power generated in your system, I told you after a certain level, knowledge translates into power. You become of such a powerful being, you can control many minds. You can affect so many minds. And a whole lot of, very sattvic vibrations are released when you touch a state, something like this. There is a nice story on this, There used to be a king who was a very good king, and so did a lot of things for his people and always engaged in karma yoga. He was doing all that. And then, but his only problem was he did not believe in spiritual practice, dhyan, meditation, and samadhi. So he would tell his ministers, they are wasting their time. What do you get out of that? We must rather do good to others. This is the whole point. Why at all should you remain absorbed with eyes closed? Then one of his wise courtiers said, you see, the very impulse of your doing good to others is coming from their meditation. Do you know that? The king said, I don't believe that. Then his minister said, yes, master, you may believe or you may not believe, but the very impulse to do good that you have is coming from their meditation. And if you want, I will show you the power of meditation and samadhi. And the king said, okay, show me, let us see. I don't believe in all that. So one day the minister took him to an ashram, which was on the outskirts of his kingdom. And in that ashram, there was a great sage who would remain absorbed for hours at a time. And the minister brought the king, and he was also followed by his other courtiers and friends and whoever was working with him. So they all came, about 100 people had come, and they all now came, and the minister showed him that sage and said, let us just sit near him for some time. Now the king came and sat there, and all the courtiers sat around him, and he was still thinking, now I will find out what really these people do, and I will expose them. They are wasting their time, they are wasting their energy, and what do you get by sitting like this? As he was saying this in his mind and looking at the sage, suddenly he saw his mind is coming to a deep peace. After a few minutes, he is unable to think like this. Then he suddenly saw his eyes also are closing, and yet he is not dozing off. Thoughts have become still, eyes have closed, and a deeper awareness has arisen within him. He is becoming deeply conscious from within, and no thoughts. An occasional thought which comes is so sweet, so divine, and everything feels so good around him. The breeze, the leaves, the face of that sage, everything is shining as it were. And then he is now in deep meditation. Then after a long time, this sage who was sitting in samadhi, he came out of samadhi after some 3 hours or so. And now when his mind moved, all their minds also moved. They were all in the state of raptness, meditation, almost samadhi-like state. And then when the sage opened his eyes and smiled, suddenly the king and the courtiers, everyone also, they opened their eyes, and with great awe-inspired now they were looking at the sage. And then the minister introduced the king to the sage, and the sage smiled and said, now do you realize the power of meditation? If I meditate, you will meditate too. If I attain samadhi, you will also touch something of that state. So don't undermine these practices. This is the way to control minds. This is the way to turn over our tendencies, our sanskars, and the impulse to do good, to lead a sattvic life, for noble work, for noble thought. Everything comes from these higher states. So don't think they are wasting their time. They are the ones who are doing something really worthwhile. The world is going on as it is only because a few people are doing their meditations properly. That is why there is at least some sattva in the world. We understand the importance of all this. If they weren't doing that, and they are in the Himalayas, so many of them. Yes, our Mokshaprana Mataji used to say there are rishis living here, and really there are, even now. And it is their meditations which are impacting the tendencies of our minds towards turning them towards good. Otherwise, who knows, living in 500 AQI, how our minds would become, who knows? Isn't it? So never undermine these practices. If you understand, it's a world of influence. Today they are using that word influencer. Don't go to that word. But I'm telling you, mentally we influence each other. So the state of mind you generate within yourself is definitely going to impact others. Is this right? And so then the king understood that these are very precious people and I should not be thinking like this about them. And then the sage told him this. Look, my son, it is not easy to change the tendencies of the mind. It comes only through another powerful mind. Anybody succeeds in, do you succeed in changing the tendencies of your children? Tell me. Yes? Anybody succeeded till now? Our own children we cannot change. Can anybody else change? Legislation can change. So what changes is another powerful mind which has found its peace will bring peace into another mind. So that is why all this is very important. Never discount this. For a society by and large to be very stable, we require very stable minds. And that comes only through spirituality. So their contribution is huge. Only it is not tangible, na? We are given so much only to the senses. We want tangible results. So tangible results will be forthcoming. But we must understand the effect of all this. So now we go into verse number 59. See? What happens as a result of Samadhi? Have you gone to verse number 59? Anadaviha samsare sanchita karma kotayaha anena vilayam yanti shuddho dharmo vivardhate. As a result of this nirvikalpa samadhi, millions of results of actions accumulated in this beginningless world over past and present births are destroyed, and pure dharma, helpful to the realization of the truth, grows. See? So karma fal, how to destroy our negative sanskars? By the practice of samadhi. Even meditation will convince you of this. And what to speak of samadhi, the state of complete absorption. Then he says, Dharma megham imam prahu samadhim yoga vittamaha varshayatyesha yato dharma amrita dhara sahasrashaha. The experts in yoga call this samadhi a rain cloud of dharma because it pours forth countless showers of the bliss of dharma. Yes? The real joy of life comes only to such minds. The rest are all groping in the dark. So it is the very, Dharma Amrita Dhara. It is the source of all dharma. States like these, please understand. See, morality can never be enforced, isn't it? It must come from within. It's a blossoming from within. And righteous conduct, this is what all we discussed. Deep inner integrity, honesty, this dharma bhav, seva bhav. How do you bring all this into the world? Tell me. It's so difficult to cultivate it even in our children. It will come only by the power of these states. The very air becomes purified. This is how it is described. When a sage attains to states like this, the air around him has a different vibration. Tirthi kurvanti tirthani, isn't it? He makes the pilgrimage places holy because of the control he has brought on his own mind. So these are all very important things, and if you see the lives of the masters, you will see why they felt so deeply about this. Sri Ramakrishna, at what age did he experience Samadhi first? 7. At the age of 7. And in nature. Yes, in Kamarpukur, he was going towards a field with mudi in his cloth. And suddenly he saw a dark cloud coming up in the sky. So how beautiful the lush fields must have been, undulating plants, and then he saw a dark cloud and a flock of cranes flying over that dark cloud. Seeing this magnificent scene, he just went into deep samadhi. Nature-induced samadhi. Yes? That's why I keep harping on nature. If you preserve nature, you preserve your mind. If we destroy nature, we are destroying our mind. Know this for certain. That is the Pancha Mahabhut in its pure form, and this is the Pancha Mahabhut in subtle form. So if you want to take care of yourself, you must take care of the environment, the most important thing. I would really advise, please see the documentaries of David Attenborough.
Yes, very good.
I always say that in my classes, because unless you see that, you won't understand what we are doing, how crazily we are behaving with the planet. There's something called a documentary named Boundaries. Please see that. We have reached tipping points for so many things, and we are so casual about it. The condition in Delhi is directly due to this. Please know this. So unless we preserve nature, we cannot preserve ourselves. For the next 2-3 generations, this should be top agenda. Otherwise, you'll see how it will go. So, that is how the importance of these states is being described. Then you see 61. We will go till 62. We have time. Amuna vasana jale nishesham pravilapite sa mulon mulite punya papakhe karma sanchaye. The entire network of desires is fully destroyed, and the accumulated actions known as merits and demerits are fully rooted out by this samadhi. See? So all that we discussed about karma phal yesterday, the entire network of actions and the fruit thereof is destroyed through samadhi. Your sanchita karma, how do you clean it up? We don't even know what it is. We are still struggling with prarabdha. Isn't it? Yesterday we saw all that. So that itself gets purified and cleared completely. Samadhi is the great shower of divine blessings. If one can attain it even once in his lifetime, he will become a saint. Yes. So this is the power of these states. And you see, the merits and demerits, everything are cleaned up, removed. When Thakur used to pray to Mother Kali, he would pray to transcend these dualities. Have you seen that? What was the prayer? Ma ei now tomar dharma, ei now tomar adharma, amay shuddha bhakti da. Ei now tomar paap, ei now tomar punya. See, giving punya also. Amay shuddha bhakti da. Unless you transcend duality, you will not come to the knowledge of the deity in itself. You will not come to pure love. So he is giving up all duality. These are the states which help you transcend duality. See, they have put it clearly there. It removes all merits and demerits from the soul. It dissolves all your karma. Cleanses you up completely so that you are now fit to radiate the power of the divine. This is the real purification. Then, the 62nd verse says, Vakyam pratibaddham sat prak paroksha avabhasite kara amalakavat bodha aparoksham prasuyate. Then the great dictum, freed from the obstacles of doubt and ambiguity, gives rise to a direct realization of the truth as a fruit in one's palm, truth which was earlier comprehended indirectly. See, as a result of this repeated practice of samadhi, the mind becomes so pure, and because your karmas and sanskars all are purified completely, Now, the great dictum, the Mahavakya, will make the direct knowledge of Brahman as clear to you as an amalaki in your hand. This is what he is saying. Why is this given? This expression is used quite often. Hasta amalakavat. Because if there's something in your hand is so sensitive that it will at once tell you there is something in your hand, isn't it? You at once acknowledge whatever is in your hand. So also will be the truth. At once you know the truth directly. And it is unmediated knowledge, aparoksha anubhuti. Even this is paroksha jnana. Amalaki in your hand is still paroksha, but this will be aparoksha. Direct insight into truth, not just insight, absorption in truth. Because you have destroyed the mind's tendencies, your karma phal, the sanskars, negative sanskars, all has been purified completely. So now you have direct access to truth. This is how Samadhi leads to Brahma Jnana. See, I always hold Yoga leads to Vedanta because I have seen it in my own life. If you are a yogi type, Vedanta is very much easy for you. In practice, the practice of Vedanta will come naturally if you are of the yogic type. That is how, you see, Yoga, Vedanta developed over Sankhya. But if you don't have yogic tendencies, you are doing some intellectual gymnastics or trying to come to an understanding. That understanding will not be supported by your mind, by your sanskars. It's not an intellectual activity finally. It's something far deeper than that, isn't it? So a yogi, through repeated practice of yoga, generates the sanskars for higher knowledge. See, this is what he's saying here, isn't it? So with the repeated practice of Samadhi, he will get this knowledge unasked, like an amalaki in the hand. And this is very true. Because the only thing that creates obstacles to higher knowledge is the mind. Mind does not actually exist. There is no ontological reality to it. But our thoughts are unstoppable. You see, check and see for yourself. So to overhaul this whole mechanism, you require states like Samadhi. The mind becomes something else. Then this knowledge will be continuous. When we say consciousness is the only continuum, it is not an intellectual understanding. It is a felt experience for the yogi. It must be a felt experience. Then only Vedanta will ring true. The life will become Vedantic, not just the thought. You know, many times our thoughts outpace our life. Have you seen? Only if you do intellectual enquiry, this can happen. But you do it with yogic bal, yog bal it is called. Then you will come to the felt experience of these things. Vedanta is about turning your life into the divine life, not just your understanding. There are very many elements of your personality, they become totally integrated by the practice of repeated Samadhi. Repeated meditation itself will tell you this, show you this. And so then knowledge becomes very... In fact, you look at the lives of the masters. They were all adepts in meditation. What levels of concentration? Look at Vivekananda's life. Seeing him for the first time only, Thakur said, Dhyana Siddha he is. He's adept in meditation. And that is why Brahma Jnana. Right? Even the case of Raman Maharshi is like that. You know, even later in life, when he would sit in the evenings looking at Arunachala, the people who sat around him have recorded they experienced Samadhi due to the power of his concentration at that time. He's just sitting with eyes open, but his mind is in Samadhi. And so it affected all of them. Such stillness prevailed. Nobody could speak for hours. And the felt experience of awareness was there in the air. So the mind of a real Brahmajnani is really luminous with knowledge because it has been trained through deep practice. Whether you call it yogic practice, Vedantic practice, some form of practice where mind tendencies have to be washed clean and curbed. And then only this luminosity will remain. Otherwise it is next to impossible, I am telling you. Yes, mind working its own way and you are doing a little bit of Vedanta, it will not leave that impact. These are all things which are the deepest things in human life, are all subjective, isn't it? Awareness, see, consciousness, peace, love, are all subjective. So then this is subjective knowledge. It requires training, it requires repeated practice and changing the tendencies of our mind. Don't try to come into Vedanta without yog bal. That is why I say. Philosophically, these may be two different systems of thought, but psychologically and in terms of practice, they complement each other. Don't only talk of differences, talk of where they unite. Because you can use yoga as a means to Vedanta. In fact, the very purpose why Vivekananda gave us 4 yogas to practice was so that you make practice perfect, so that you come spontaneously to Vedanta. Isn't it? So take care of this. The practice is the most important thing. The feel for Vedanta will come only with practice. When we see, while talking to IIT and all, I am mainly giving the intellectual part. But bottom line, I will always say, if there's no solid practice on an everyday basis, this understanding will not remain. It will slip by. It's one cloud of thought, it will get blown away by another cloud of thought. That's all. So keep up the practice, then you won't even have to do anything else, Unasked knowledge comes. So we will end it here, today's class. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.